HB 885, known as the Louisiana Safety Net Hospital Preservation Act. You are introducing that, I guess, today. Tell us about that.
Well, actually, it's going to be heard on tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the House Appropriations Committee.
What's the goal?
To try and do that, which I and others from North Louisiana have stated our desire to do over the years, and that is to ensure that we in this particular area, Shreveport, Monroe in particular, are getting our fair share of resources in general, and in particular when it comes to the operation of our safety net hospitals. You've heard, as this debate has raged on for the last several years, about information that indicates that Shreveport gets about 32 cents for every dollar that goes to the safety net hospital in New Orleans. Well, what we're trying to do is to, one, task the department with actually determining whether or not that's true or not, and confirming the research that's been done, putting the legislative auditor in the position of being the fair arbiter that determines whether or not that information is accurate. If it is, then requiring that the department go forward with the necessary steps needed in order to ensure that those particular payments are equalized and not just simply distributed based upon politics.
The fact that you say that that this bill, if it passes, will require an audit, etc., tells me that those people down there think that everything's fair the way it is. And in fact, you think that. I mean, that they like it the way it is. What makes you think that they're going to go along with this?
Well, they may not. But, you know, as the saying goes, nothing is given without a try. Or as James Baldwin said, that not all things that are faced can be changed, but nothing at all can be changed until it's faced. And so, yes, there are things that we inherently know are true and have been political truths in Louisiana for years with regard to the distribution of resources. If we ever have an expectation that those things are going to change and result in a better set of circumstances for those of us up north, then we've got to be at least willing to step forward and put forth the necessary mechanisms that can bring that about. Now, if there's anybody who's involved in government who's afraid of transparency, then that's something that we all ought to be concerned about. And what this particular bill proposes is that we simply make this a transparent process, put those facts on the table for us as legislators to be able to know, and the public as well. And if there's still the decision that you want to have an unequal distribution of resources for performing the same task, which puts us here in the north at a disadvantage, which endangers our ability to be able to effectively fund our medical school and be able to do the types of things that give us a chance to be able to preserve our economy and hopefully at some point begin to use those assets to grow it, then at least we'll know that. But if we're going to ever change that, it's going to have to start with a mechanism like this.
Let me ask you, have you gotten the North Louisiana delegation together on this? I know Senator Tarver and you've had disagreements about this. I mean,
well,
there's no way you're going to win passage if all of you are not on the same table.
Well, this is a House bill at this point, so we'll get to the Senate as we get to that process. But we're starting with our House colleagues. This legislation has been filed for some time. There are a substantial number of North Louisiana legislators who are on the Appropriations Committee. We'll be going over this with them between today and tomorrow to make sure that everybody's up to speed. And again, this is simply about trying to give us an opportunity to do that, which all of us who go out and put ourselves before our respective constituencies say that we're going to go to Baton Rouge, we're going to go to City Hall, we're going to go to Washington, and we're going to fight for the people who trust us enough to send us there to represent their interests. This is a means and mechanism by which that has the potential to happen and become reality and not just lip service.
But if this passes, it's going to cut funding at the New Orleans hospital. To get those lawmakers to agree to that seems like an uphill battle.
Well, again, the bottom line is that what this seeks is transparency, Erin, of the process. It seeks to say, let's take basic, known hospital accounting metrics, put those on the table, let the department result on the information in terms of how those dollars are currently distributed, and then if that distribution is unequal, let's put forth a mechanism that seeks to equalize it. Now, if you just simply tell me that you don't want to do that because you think that your assets, what you do, your functions, your operations, your duties, your safety net, your medical school is of greater value than ours, despite the fact that we're doing the same thing for less money for more people, then that's something I think that the people of Louisiana ought to know in general, and something that the people of North Louisiana ought to know in particular, and they ought to know which of us are going to Baton Rouge to fight to try and change that.
You know, you've made the point for a long time that in your mind that there are folks, political and otherwise, in South Louisiana that want our medical school. Do you still feel that way? And do you still feel that way? And how that's going to be a pretty big roadblock to overcome politically? Yes.
Well, here's what I do know, and that is that the people of Baton Rouge have what they call the Baton Rouge Health District. That's an effort that's being put forth by the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, and others. They are building that around their current healthcare infrastructure as it exists around the Pennington Center and Perkins Road Corridor and Our Lady of the Lake Hospital and the other hospital assets down there. Post-Katrina, after hosting the New Orleans Medical School as it was rebuilding, what they managed to keep in place in Baton Rouge is a medical school program that already constitutes year 3 and 4 of the 4-year medical school experience. Now, what they would like to have is a full-fledged medical school in Baton Rouge. Now, I think it would be difficult for them to be able to simply shut down and move the Shreveport Medical School there, but I have no doubt that they're going to continue their efforts to be able to stand up a medical school of their own. And it's already detailed in the vision that they have for that Baton Rouge Health District. Now, what does that mean that we need to be doing here in Shreveport? It means we need to make sure that we don't assume that the LSU Shreveport Medical School is always going to exist. We also need to make sure that we're trying to maximize as best we can the opportunity and the potential that exists there. There is a great opportunity, as has been envisioned in this community for a very long time by people like Virginia Sheehy and others, of us being able to use those healthcare access along King Highway and use it to not just sustain the 5,000 jobs that are currently a part of the hospital and the medical school, but to use it as a mechanism of making this a place that actually grows the type of knowledge-based life science economy that can help keep our children and our grandchildren here and make Shreveport a better, more viable place.